Hello there, it's the 29th of June 2000 and Friday. A very good morning and welcome to Good Morning Sri Lanka live here on MTV Sports. I'm Mahina Bongzo. Well, the weekend is finally here, and for all of you who have been having a very hectic week as I have, the weekend is always a good welcome. So looking forward to the weekend, and it's great to be working on a Friday knowing that tomorrow is a holiday. Well, we have two very special guests in the studio today. And trust me, they're a mixed bag of things. They're not just dedicated to one particular field. They're absolutely a mixed bag, and they're very interesting to talk to. And they're none other than Mr. Sara Senaviratne and Mr. Paul Watt. A very good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Sri Lanka.
Very good morning, Sri Lanka.
Good morning to you, and thank you very much.
So just to give our viewers a brief introduction about these two gentlemen. And now Paul and Sara have been living in Hong Kong, and Paul has a variety of business interests, but he's here to develop a unique publishing project that will help writers across South Asia to publish their work. And he's also the owner of the original junk, which is called the Duckling, a symbol of Hong Kong's tourism. We'll be talking to him more about that to find out more details on that. And Mr. Sara Senaviratne is no stranger to Sri Lanka. He is a multimedia expert with a great talent for caricatures and also a publisher of Fun World, a magazine dedicated to political satires, and as well as Cricketoon. And if you're a cricket lover, you would recall that this was published after Sri Lanka lifted the ICC Cricket World Cup in 1996. So let's start with you, Mr. Senaviratne. Just tell me a little bit about the work that you do, the caricatures you create. There's a lot of work when you showed me these caricatures. They're amazing work. What really inspired you to get into, this field?
Well, I've started my career when I was 14 years for a major newspaper called Weekend Sun. And then a lot of, I was into political cartooning because of my ability of, doing caricatures. So that's quite amazing because I've got a lot of commendations from the Queen, President Bill Clinton, and then Tony Blair, and lots of politicians around the world, including President Jayawardena also, and even Philippine President Ramos. So like that, I went into a lot of areas, especially in the United States. I've been praised by the American Cartoonists Association and the Publishers Association also for the kind of work that I do. And I've started this Fun World as a result of it, because I work for almost all the newspapers in Sri Lanka and almost all the newspapers in Singapore, because I had to be in exile from the age 20. So I'm now almost passing 60. And I have lots and lots of things to sort of talk about, so I've been used by major clients right around the world for my caricaturing, which I'm proud to tell you that for 2 hours they used to pay me $8,000 US, so for 2.5 hours actually in Hong Kong alone.
So Fun World, what does it really talk about? We know that it mainly talks about political satire, but how do you really bring that out in your magazine Fun World? And I'm sure you've got a few magazines there to show us as well.
To be frank with you, I should talk about politics, internationally and locally. So politics means it's a dirty business. So most of these politicians who come as politicians, I have lots and lots of things to sort of talk about them personally, but I do not want to at this hour. But what I do is just to sort of, if I think that I should punish these guys because they are doing a bad job, so I do it with my hands. So I do a lot of political cartooning and make them understand what they are up to. And then even caricaturing, a caricature of a person you can exaggerate, and you can draw him as a monster, or you can draw him as an angel. So that's the kind of things that I'm into. And also especially that this is a political satire magazine, and it's a difficult I had a difficult period of continuing this because nobody wants to back me up by giving advertising and all that, because most of these countries we do not enjoy freedom of the press and freedom of expression. So because of that, I tried to sort of lull down certain things.
And we've got some visuals of the magazines and the work that you've done, and it's quite amazing, the work that you've done. It really is of a different standard. What made you really, you know, think, okay, you need to break away from journalism and get into this type of, you know, work?
Well, it goes par with the journalist field, because it's part of the, I mean, the key point for being a editorial political cartoonist. So very first thing, that when you open the, when you get the newspaper, that you go through the middle page where the editorial is there, and joining that you get the editorial political cartoon, which is quite exciting. And I mean, I used to admire Jack Davis from United States. So he's one of the most top political cartoonists, where he used to exaggerate sort of phases and all that. When I was a kid, I used to enjoy looking at Jack Davis's political satire caricatures appeared in most of these Time magazines. So you won't believe, in 1999 I met Jack Davis because he was seated next to me in Pennsylvania, you know. So that was amazing. A man whom I appreciated, the man whom I sort of followed, I should say, his footsteps, was seated next to me. And when I told him about the things that I used to collect his artworks. So, and also I think political satire is a thing that you should continue, but unfortunately it's a fading subject, you know. It's fading off from the third world countries. So, and being threatened also, you know.
And getting to you, Mr. Watt, just talk to me about this this very amazing original junk you have in Hong Kong, which is called the Duckling. It's a true relic which underwent full restoration in the 1980s, and it's an original junk used by fishermen and the last of its kind in Hong Kong waters, and it's actually the symbol of Hong Kong tourism. So what made you really think of, you know, getting an old boat and, you know, turning it around, restoring it and making it a tourist attraction?
Well, I didn't actually do that. It was built in Macau in 1955 as a fishing boat. It was taken to Hong Kong in 1977 as a fishing boat. It was found derelict and about to be trashed in about 84 by a couple of French guys, headed by Pierre Caderc, a friend of mine. And they rebuilt it. And in Hong Kong they don't save things. You know, it's all got to be new. So Hong Kong Harbour was littered with these boats back in the 40s and 50s, and now there's basically one left. And they restored it. And then Pierre Caderc was an interesting fellow that he's French, born in Tanzania, lived in Libya. They'd lived in Asia and decided to live the last of his life in South America. He lives in Chile. And then, so he wanted to sell it, and then he said he'd only sell it to me because I was the only man he'd ever met that had the passion to keep it going. Okay. So it was about 7 or 8 years ago.
And the Duckling, why did you think of naming it the Duckling?
Well, we didn't do that. They did that as it was originally called the Duckling by the Chinese, and duckling in Chinese means clever duck.
Okay. And talk to us a little bit about the ship. I mean, this vessel. I mean, how does it look like? What is it? You know, what is the main sort of material it's made out of, and why is it such a tourism attraction in Hong Kong?
Well, what's happened is that with the boat, there's been a contract with the Hong Kong Tourist Bureau for 23 years, and they charter it twice a week, and plus on special occasions, and then we use it for corporate charter apart from that. And it's a timber boat built back in the days when there's basically no nails in it. The timber's joined. And I've had journalists on board. I had a photographic journalist one time, and he said, you know, Paul, I could fill a book on pictures of the wood on this boat. It's it goes under sail. It's 3 sails, and you know, people go on it, and it's wow. It's the wow factor. Yeah. So we have a lot of famous people on it. We do films and documentaries. We've done a James Bond movie on it. Jackie Chan, Green Day have been on the boat. Oasis. All the big banks use it, and we do films, movies and documentaries at least once a month. So it's a lot of fun, and what it does, it gives a lot of people a lot of enjoyment. And because to go out on it is really, really a treat. Yeah, it's a one-off. And large corporations use it. Say, like the big banks, they might have the chairman of New York in town. What are you going to do with him? Take him to a grand lunch at a grand hotel. Well, there's grand lunches at grand hotels all over the world. Take them on the boat for lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has that appeal. Yeah.
Also now getting back to you, Mr. Senaviratne, just getting back to the work that you do. Now you are going to obviously launch a new magazine, a new version of Fun World. Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a new version of Fun World because in this part of the world, I'm not talking about the Western countries and United States and Britain. I'm talking about the Asian region, and I'm trying to launch a kind of a magazine with lots of funny stuff, especially the kind of magazine, because I did the campaign, part of the campaign for President Obama. So that was my last magazine. So apart from that, this particular magazine that I want to launch, but of course I want to highlight some politicians on my cover, and apart from that, the kind of funny things, I will be into the kind of entertainment industry as well, because I want to highlight the Hollywood movie stars, the Bollywood movie stars, as well as the local stuff. So this will be mainly for the Asian region. I do not know whether the Westerners will appreciate a kind of thing, because they do not know much about our local stars and the local politics as well. But now Sri Lanka being highlighted, so I think it's a good time for me to launch a kind of a funny magazine with all sorts of political satire, as well as caricatures of cricketers and what they do, what they're up to, and all kinds of stuff, you know. So and also into the music industry as well, sort of. You know,
and when is it due to come out?
Well, I'm thinking of say in August, so that would be the appropriate time for me to, because I've got a lot of other assignments, because I'm not in one place, because I've been assigned by a lot of mega clients all over the world, hiring me as a caricaturist for the day. So today I'm here, say the next week I'm in Paris and Hong Kong and things like that. So it has become a very exciting kind of a job for me all over the world. So I'm doing this Fun World, inviting almost everybody, the brilliant journalists who wants to say something, and also the press freedom, that I give press freedom to these guys, and without any fear that I want to publish this in Asian region. So no restrictions, and they have the full license to play anything. So that's my vision for this particular magazine.
Well, on that note, we're going for a short commercial break. We'll be back with more conversation. Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports, one amazing channel. I'm in conversation with Mr. Sara Senaviratne and Mr. Paul Watt. Just a quick question. How did the two of you meet, and how do you work together?
It's a wild meeting. It was a wild meeting. What do you say, Paul?
Well, I guess it was good and bad. I think the reason that he has so many political and high-powered condemnations and congratulations is that he blackmails them. If they're not nice to him, he makes them look like an idiot. And because really what he does is the ultimate power of the pen. The written word, you can only say so much. But what Sarah does, and I'm not sure whether he's brilliant at it or he's half crazy anyhow.
Should be.
But the power of what he can do with his pen is far greater than a journalist with the written version.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they'll take things like your ears stick out a little bit, boing, he'll make them out here. You know, he might have a little bit of a hooked nose, boing, and it's awesome. It's awesome, and no one likes to look like an idiot.
True.
So he blackmails them.
And what have you got to say about that? Is it really true? Do you blackmail them?
Well, if he says so, to a certain extent, I also agree, because there are some personalities which I don't like, and so what I do is I give them a monster look, a monstrous kind of look, and also not blackmailing, of course, yes. If I can get a ransom, that's going to be part of the.
It's a funny form of blackmail.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and also lots of. I mean, the craziness should be there. You know, you have to.
People just want to laugh.
Yeah,
that's
you have to be.
That's the fact.
You have to be a bit away from the normal kind of human qualities. Sometimes, you know, you have to be abnormal to do this kind of exaggerated versions. So that's your creation. And also that I've enjoyed thoroughly working with Paul, because he introduced me to lots and lots of high profile kind of characters, which and of course, you know, he has given a lot of credit to me as well. So right around the world, from Hollywood movie stars to White House, you know, I had the opportunity, I got the privilege to dine with Mr. Bill Clinton and his family because of my pen. You know, I'm a guy who was born in Moratuwa in Sri Lanka, so I didn't know that I will go that far with the kind of ability that God given. And I've done marvelous things. Even I should tell you, when Bill Clinton had the affair with Monica Lewinsky, I highlighted that and I published that in the Hong Kong Standard. So when he came, that I gave a titled book as The Accounts of Trouble. So he appreciated it. He really appreciated it.
Now we're actually showing some of your work. I don't know whether you can see them properly, but I mean, what are your, you know, the masterpieces that you think you've done? I'm sure you've done like several, like, you know, thousands upon thousands of these caricatures, but what are the most special caricatures that, you know, you hold dear to your heart?
Well, I do not want to talk about the kind of things that I have revolutionized. Toppling governments, you know, you have the ability to do that, being a one-man kind of a band, you know, so and also threatening these guys who are into these dirty political games. I'm not talking about Sri Lanka, I'm talking about the whole world. And even in Hong Kong, you know, I mean, I've been paid even $15,000 a month. So you could see how powerful the pen is that I'm holding, you know. So that kind of ability that I have, sometimes I would do things like, you know, to make people angry. And also I've got, by doing that, I've got a lot of threats, and don't you know, say, I used to scratch my head and say, oh, freedom of the press, is it real? Is it there? So like that, you know, I mean, it's quite amazing, you know. I mean, hiring me, like the top people which I do